Today, we're tackling something pretty significant in the real estate landscape. The National Association of Realtors, or NAR, settlement. Our goal here is to really dig into what this big change actually means, how properties are bought and sold, who it affects, and crucially, there's this massive settlement fund, potentially billions, from a class action lawsuit. We want to explain how you might actually claim a piece of it. And guiding us through this, we're looking at a really helpful YouTube video. It's from the Ronald Road Law channel, specifically a piece called NAR Settlement, How to Submit Claim for Commissions Paid Step by Step. It just lays things out very practically, step by step, which is great for cutting through the legal jargon.
Exactly. And it's fascinating, isn't it, how a lawsuit starting in Missouri has caused these shockwaves across the entire industry. The core of it all, the settlement, it comes from that class action suit. And the main claim was that sellers were, essentially part of a price fixing scheme.
Price fixing? How so?
Well, the allegation was that by automatically listing the buyer agent's fee, through the MLS cooperative compensation rule, it kind of locked in those commission structures. It basically challenged the whole way commissions have been done for ages.
Right. And the settlement amount reflects how serious this was taken. We're hearing figures like hundreds of millions, maybe even hitting $1 billion overall.
Yeah, those are the numbers being thrown around. It's a substantial amount. So naturally, the question is, who's actually supposed to get this money?
Exactly. Who benefits here?
Primarily, it's aimed at sellers, specifically sellers who paid a commission to the buyer's agent when they sold their home. And the time frame seems pretty broad. The source mentioned 2019 to 2024, but also potentially reaching back to 2018, 2017.
So a pretty wide net then.
It seems so. If you sold a property in that window and paid that buyer agent commission, you're likely in the group they're talking about. And it's important to note, while some big names like Compass are mentioned, I think they're putting in like $57.5 million. You didn't have to use Compass specifically. The settlement covers a lot of different brokerages.
Okay, that's good to clarify. So eligibility is broad. But let's talk about the actual payout. This is where it gets, interesting. The video we watched mentioned potential claimant numbers. Estimates like 21 million people, maybe even up to 40 or 50 million.
Yeah, huge numbers. Astronomical, really. But then there's the elephant in the room, as they say.
The lawyer's fees.
Exactly. A significant chunk comes right off the top for legal costs. That's pretty standard in class actions, but it definitely impacts the individual payouts.
Right. So after the lawyers get paid, what does that leave for the actual sellers? The video had a pretty surprising number.
It did. It suggested the individual payout could be incredibly low, potentially as little as $13.
The $13, seriously. Even if someone paid, say, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in commissions.
That's the estimate presented, yeah. $13. It really highlights the economics of these massive lawsuits, doesn't it?
Wow. Okay. Still, the advice was basically, it's still worth claiming. So if you decide it is worth the effort for, $13 or maybe more,
right,
what do you actually do?
Right. The place to go is the official website. It's realestateCommissionLitigation.com. That's the only place to file. And this is critical, the deadline. It's May 5th.
Okay.
Miss that date, and you lose any chance to claim. It's a hard cutoff.
Right.
Also, if you sold more than one house during that eligible period, you need to submit a separate claim for each sale. One claim per property.
Got it. One claim per house. And what paperwork do people need to dig out before they even go to the website?
The main thing you'll need is your closing disclosure. Some people might know it as a settlement statement. This is the key document. It should show the closing date, the sale price, and most importantly, the real estate commissions paid out, including the brokerages involved.
Okay. Closing disclosure. And the source recommended having it in a specific format.
Yeah, PDF is best, preferably a signed copy if you have it. Having that ready before you start online will make things smoother. Once you have that PDF, the process online is apparently pretty straightforward.
Like what?
You fill in your personal details, property info, upload that closing disclosure PDF, do an electronic signature, and hit submit.
Seems simple enough.
Yeah.
And getting the money. What are the options? The video mentioned some modern ones.
Yeah, they offer a few ways. You can choose a debit card, a paper check mailed to you, Zelle, or even Venmo.
Venmo. Interesting. But no PayPal.
Right. PayPal wasn't listed as an option, and Cash App wasn't mentioned either. So Zelle, Venmo, debit card, or check.
Okay. So you submit the claim, upload the doc, choose your payment method, then what?
You should get immediate confirmation on screen, like a success sign, and they'll give you a unique claim number. You should definitely save that number.
Good tip. And then how long until you might actually see that $13 or whatever it ends up being?
The estimate is a few months. They're sort of targeting around the end of October for payments to start going out, but, these things can sometimes take longer.
Okay, end of October timeframe. Good to know. So let's just quickly recap this deep dive. We've looked at this really groundbreaking NAR settlement. It stems from that lawsuit in Missouri about alleged price fixing tied to how buyer agent fees were listed in the MLS. We know it mainly impacts sellers who paid those fees between roughly 2017, 2019, and 2024. The total fund is huge, potentially $1 billion, but individual payouts might be, well, quite small, maybe just $13. Still, if you want to claim, there's a clear process. RealestateCommissionLitigation.com, May 5th deadline. Need your closing disclosure.
Exactly. And the implications going forward are massive, too. This isn't just about past sales. This settlement changes the rules. Listing brokers can't just automatically offer buyer-broker compensation through the MLS anymore. That's a fundamental shift.
Right. What does that mean practically?
It likely means buyers will need to negotiate their agent's commission directly and probably pay for it themselves, rather than it being baked into the seller's side. It could lead to more transparency, maybe, but also new complexities for everyone involved, buyers, sellers, agents. It really reshapes how agents get paid.
It definitely feels like a major turning point for the industry, and that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? For you, the listener, when you think about putting in the effort, finding documents, filling forms for potentially just a few dollars, what does this whole situation tell us? What does it say about, the real cost of these big legal fights, about how much individual consumer claims are really valued in these massive class actions? And maybe most importantly, what does it make you think about where real estate commissions and maybe even consumer protection in general are headed next?